What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another dope edition of Define Your Legacy. I'm your host, Elijah McBee. And before we tap into today's episode, just want to shout out our online store, all right, which can be found at the link in the description of this episode, okay? We have t-shirts, long sleeves, hoodies, and a whole lot more. All right, so feel free to check out the link in the description of this episode, all right? And just like that, today's guest, we got Kyron on the show. What's going on, man?
What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing?
For sure. We appreciate you for pulling up on the show, man. If you could just introduce yourself and tell us what it is that you do.
All right, cool. Well, my name is Kyron. I'm a native to Connecticut, Hartford, born and raised, moved around a bit, journeyed to East Hartford, went to Windsor. So I'm pretty known well out through the community. Now I'm living on the West Coast. I live in Idaho. I took a tech job, kind of got into tech. Right now I'm doing some product management. I started out doing some data analytics, but now product management is my thing. I intend to kind of, develop products throughout my career. But also, I'm also a wealth builder and leveraging tech to kind of do so. So that's a little bit about myself. And we'll kind of get some, once Diaz kind of draws into the conversation, get some questions off to kind of get to know me a bit more and see how I can help you guys.
Yeah, for sure. So even in that, right, we talk about, let's start from the beginning, right? Let's talk about, Windsor as well as Hartford. So talk to me a little bit too about your overall upbringing.
Yeah, so, I was raised by my mom and I had a younger brother. So, we kind of came up close, tight knit family. I would say around my time in like middle school, high school, I started to get a lot more serious into, my education and my studies. And I really, was keen on business. So I kind of made a decision when I was young that, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. But, as you realize, as you kind of like climb through those ranks, you got to learn from the best in order to be the best. So that's kind of what I did. I wanted to keep everything, black. I'm unapologetically black. And I believe, in, learning from, some of the best black educators. So I decided to go to HBCU. I went to Delaware State University, studied accounting and finance. And I took a minor in financial planning because I had an interest in learning how to build wealth, but I also wanted to help others do the same along the timeline and while I was there. So that's something that I picked up. But I would say now, tech is my focus right now as I build wealth.
So how has that been, that dynamic between working in tech, right, by having a background in financial planning? Do they kind of go hand in hand?
It depends on really what you go with. So like my journey to where I am today is a kind of, it's kind of interesting. I had a few different like pockets of interest while I was in college that I kind of dabbled in, and it got me some visibility in different areas. There was some overlap in the past where I was working in Manhattan for a fintech company at one point in time, and that's where I kind of had the overlap. But that kind of like influenced me a bit more to go into like product and really drive into tech in general. So I kind of strayed away a bit from, the fintech aspect of it. But with the technology now that we have, like crypto, it still allows me the opportunity to, dabble in tech and finance.
And even in, talking about tech and finance, you mentioned crypto, obviously, often talked about. What are your thoughts overall towards crypto? How do you feel about it?
I embrace it, and I think as a people, I think we should embrace it as well. It's a new technology, so when there's new technology, there is risk associated with it. But I don't think you should allow risk to stray you away from the opportunity. Just in general, I think with crypto, there's large opportunities to make money in there, and if you really study the fundamentals and get to understand the project that you're investing in, I think there's a large upside in the things that you can get into. I would say as well, I invest in a multitude of things. I believe in, diversification amongst asset classes. But crypto is one that I'm like really, really keen on because of the growth potential. And why I say growth potential is because, if you got to look at the dynamics and and what you're kind of, trying to do. We're trying to build wealth from zero for the most part. And when you're trying to build wealth from zero, you have to take a bit more risk. I would say with crypto, the percent increases that you can get are substantial. So I tend to take the approach of, more riskier investing rather than, the primary like common stock investing. No hindrance, like no, not saying like, you can't still do the same thing, but I just view it in a different light. Just view it in a different light.
Right. And I'm so glad you said that and worded that way too. And I appreciate you being transparent about that. One thing I would say to that, like, it's okay, right? Like, you have so many people who will preach this one idea of investing into the stock market, the natural S&P 500, but with cryptocurrency being something that's not just popular, right, but also effective in changing people's lives and financial situation, it's a real thing. But what would you say to someone who's still having trouble adapting to this new world of crypto, right? Because obviously a lot of people may know about stocks, whether you know which ones to invest in, the stock market exists, but crypto to a lot of people is still relatively new. So what would you say to them?
I mean, it's like technology. Like, you kind of got to think about it in a way of, I would say, like, this was my thought process, right? Let's think about money in general. We started with money like this, coins, or let's think about trade in general. We started trade in general. When you think about the beginning of like civilization, we started trading with like the barter system. Hey, like, I got these chickens, you got this silver. Let's figure out a way of how many chickens can equal this amount of silver. So when you think about the timeline of money, it started with that barter system. Then, as we go forward, we kind of have like some physical cash into play and coins, right? And then as you think about time and technology, we stray further and further away from having that to carry that physical cash. We introduced, like checks. So you could write a check. You didn't really need the physical tender. Then we moved to, debit credit cards, less of that cash feeling, less of you seeing the money physically leave your hand in your pocket. And now we have things like, Apple Pay, where the card isn't even there and it's like one tap. So we go further and further away from this environment where we're physically pulling out items to, show that we have tender, to now a more digital. And even when you think about your bank account, everything is digitalized. Your money might not even actually be in the bank. It might be, loaned out to someone else. So with crypto, I would say, think about it, I think about it in the light of like, if I was in the US and I was over in Europe and I just converted my money to the euro, I think about it in that way. But except now I'm playing with the internet, so I could just take my US dollar, convert that over into Bitcoin, and now I'm in action.
Yeah. And the thing is about cryptocurrency, I just think people have to accept that it is a different asset class. And whether you understand it or not, just being prepared for the overall future. I know a lot of people are just so stuck on just the stock market, but just I think a part of your financial journey is being willing to adapt to the times that we're in. And if you don't know something, learn it, right? Like, try to
Absolutely
educate yourself on it before you tend to knock it off. But you mentioned, right, obviously the most popular one, Bitcoin. So how did you get introduced, I would say, to either Bitcoin or just cryptocurrency overall?
Man, so like most people, I was introduced to Bitcoin, early, but I didn't take action right away. I saw Bitcoin, I saw it mentioned a few times, like in movies or shows. I had friends talk about it, like probably back in like 2013. And I would say, like, you kind of, like, the first time you hear about it, it's kind of just like a word. You don't really think about it because, you probably won't actually look into it. Then when I was in college, I heard about it again, maybe like a few years later. Cryptocurrency came back up because, I study finance. So I had a lot of other individuals that I went to school with who were like interested in like Ripple or, Ethereum and things of that nature. So Bitcoin, of course, came up again. And it wasn't until I started, really being on Twitter a lot more actively and like really narrowing my focus down on social media to accomplishing like some goals that I had set out for myself, where I got introduced to Bitcoin again, and where I started to really like take a deeper dive and look. And I would say, like, it started with me, simply just going on YouTube, and I kind of watched a documentary on it. And then once the light hit me and I kind of like understood what it was just like apparent that, it was something that I could also get involved in. And the barrier to entry is extremely low because you can do it right on your phone. So just like how people are kind of investing in the stock market, I like kind of, started to invest in crypto. And the thing that kind of really pushed me towards crypto even more was when we kind of had that whole incident with Robin Hood and GME, and everybody was trying to make these trades. And, Robin Hood kind of halted all of their, halted like all of the trading and action going on. And that kind of like disturbed me. And I was just like, my money's locked up in this platform. I can't play with it the way that I need to. So once I like kind of like really thought about crypto and really like looked into Bitcoin, I just felt comfortable moving my money over, to a decentralized exchange and kind of, just fully fledged jumping in. Like I didn't really allow, and some people might say like, it's like, it's not really, truly wise to like just jump into like an investment category and not really do too much research. But I'm a person who believes that you can learn while doing. So if it seems right and you're comfortable with the risk, and I think that's really what it all comes down to, is what what your risk tolerance is. Jump in, get the learning, and get to it.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. We talk about risk. That crypto, it's definitely a lot of potential, but that also comes with a lot of risk. 1 minute
Yes.
you can be up a good amount, next minute you could be having some regrets. So talk to me too. Have you ever experienced like any crazy examples of like volatility within the crypto market?
Absolutely. It's volatility every day.
Yeah.
I mean, and I can say, for those that probably invested in like Dogecoin, last year around this time, everybody was pretty happy. But if you kept your money in there, that Dogecoin millionaire, not really a millionaire anymore. So, that risk really comes down to like, having an investing strategy at the end of the day. Why not take profits? There's no harm in taking profits. You can't be upset with, a 30% gain, but like in crypto, a 30% gain you can accomplish in a day. In the stock market, 30% gain might take, some years. So, and that's where I came down to it, like my decision to kind of start investing in crypto. I can't really, I can't invest like and not to bring it to like race or anything, but I can't invest like a middle-aged white man who's had money his whole life, because I haven't. So crypto is kind of like that way for me to kind of get those, quick gains, but also, I study and I have, long-term holds and long-term positions that I actually believe in. So that's what I'm going with, and that's what I'm rocking with.
Yeah. And I'm not mad
for the most part. Yeah.
And I'm not mad at it too. I think like the world, we have to understand the times that we're living in, and that a lot of young people are trying to, change their entire financial situation quickly. And that is completely okay. It's good to invest, obviously, for the long term. But if someone who's in their 20s or whatever wants to get active financially now, I don't think there's an issue with that.
Yeah, and to kind of, not to interrupt you at all, but just to kind of like, really like bring my comment host like full circle. Like I said, diversification is key. I'm not only, investing in crypto, I'm investing in the stock market. I have a 401k. Like real estate is always up there. I invest in sneakers, like alternative asset classes. So like, as long as you can make your money work for you and you could get a % gain on it, like take the opportunity, but understand the risk that comes along with it, but also understand the risk by not taking action. So if you don't do anything with it, you can expect no return at all. Now, or you'll probably just end up spending it on something, that you don't really need. So why not? There's not many things that you can really invest into right from the comfort of your house or wherever you are, that can bring you a % back. And that's what I found. I found crypto to just be the one that was just higher yield producing for me. But not to say like I'm not taking those gains that I got, and I'm still taking those gains that I get from crypto and bringing it into, a stock portfolio, or I might take that money that's on that platform and we might put it into real estate. So you got to get crafty with how you do things. It's no one answer for anything.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point too. Just our idea of diversifying your portfolio, and just because someone is investing in the crypto doesn't mean they're 100%, or you have to be 100% all in. As you mentioned,
Right.
this is probably one of the most volatile asset classes out there, especially from a day-to-day kind of thing. But some people have, like I would say, a max number in their portfolio, right? Whether it's like, okay, I only want to own 5 stocks, or I only want to own 3 rental properties. Do you feel the same way about crypto? Like, I only want to have 10 max, if that.
So primarily, I think you kind of think about the landscape of the crypto environment right now, or the crypto market. It's always good, it's always good to have Bitcoin. Like, it's always good to have that as a asset in your asset class, set up. And then you also want to have Ethereum, because that's like number 2. Now, when you talk about the other projects, it just comes with a lot more risk, because they really haven't proven themselves and they haven't been around for as long. Same, like, but that also introduces a lot of opportunity as well, because you don't know like what can really take off. So you kind of got to just, read the white papers, see what projects kind of resonate with you, do some searching to see what the market is talking about, and what partnerships or deals they're coming up with other, companies, or, actual companies that are out in the real world, not in the crypto space, that are doing things, because there's a lot going on in the background. And if you don't do your research, you won't ever know. So that's really like what it comes down to. I would say, like, I have multiple like crypto projects that I'm invested in. I won't get to naming any at all, but I think you should take the risk, and if you feel comfortable with the projects that you're investing in. It's really, really early. Like, Bitcoin has only been around like 10 years or a little bit more after that. So it's not really, it's still fresh and it's still young. You got to think about what it was like when the internet was kind of created. It took some time for Google to come. And then once Google came, we started getting introduced to social media. So like, now we're finally figuring out how to leverage social media in a productive way, and not just for entertainment purposes nowadays. So like, you just kind of walk that line with technology in general. So now you have like some fresh, crypto, but now you have some newer projects coming out. And if you are comfortable taking those risks and investing in them, then so be it.
Yeah. And, again, too, leaning on the risk factor, right? Obviously, Ethereum, Bitcoin, the 2 more popular ones. But another one you mentioned was Dogecoin. And so how do you feel, right, the difference between meme and value, right? Because some of this, just like stocks, some of this stuff just gets pumped up, right?
Right.
It may not hold actual value. But how do you feel about the difference between those two?
The difference really is, it just comes down to utility, and is like its usefulness and the use case. Like, Bitcoin is a great storage of value. They try to compare it to, gold, in a way, but it's really like gold in like an algorithmic system. There's a certain supply for it. So, there's an actual like case for it being rare. If you look at gold itself, somebody can go find a new mine tomorrow, and it might not, reflect on the price at all, but it's here to say that you don't know how scarce it actually is. It's just, we place value on it, right? Now with Bitcoin, it's like, because it's an algorithm, and it's only 21 million Bitcoin. As the price increases, or let's say like the amount of Bitcoin in circulation decreases, the price goes up. So it's actually saying, that it's rare. Now, when we look at Ethereum, I look at Ethereum as kind of like a platform where, there's other decentralized apps being built on it. And this is like one of the first ones to ever be like, this is the first kind of platform like that to be created. So now you have a situation where you have a bunch of decentralized applications being built on this one platform, and everything's feeding off of it. They can all try to, make themselves better, but they're still building on that platform, meaning that platform isn't going anywhere anytime soon. It still can get better. And then when they introduce like NFTs and like in NFTs, we look at only just art, but it's so much more than that. It's gonna revolutionize the music industry. It's gonna, change the way we buy houses. It's gonna change the way that you get like funding and lending, or like just overall like finance in general. There's no more like issues that we kind of have to deal with race, because they can't see you. It's only a matter of if you have the funds and can you get the loan. So with Bitcoin and Ethereum, they have like actual utility. With Dogecoin, it was more so built off of like hype. And when you have like Elon Musk kind of pumping the price, it becomes even funnier. And that's the other thing about it. It's like we said, it's meme. It's a meme coin at the end of the day. Not saying you can't make any money off of it, but like that's even riskier. You know what I mean? It's riskier because there's not much utility. There's not many people, investing in it outside of just, the retail space. So you kind of got to factor all of those things in.
Yeah, and that's why we always say like buying and investing at a high is a recipe for disaster. Usually
Yep.
when that happens, a lot of emotions come into play, but like it's okay to miss a wave. You feel me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Come in late, like you just making it worse. Because 9 times out of 10, the drop is probably gonna happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And entry points are so important when it comes to investing, right? I always say,
More important than
oh
even,
yeah, oh
you
yeah.
know, anything else.
Like when you invest is just as important as what you invest in. Like entry points are so important, are so crucial, because that really is the name of the game. You know what I'm saying? Like I know everyone wants to buy certain things, but when you get in for a certain price, these are all different factors that can affect your overall investment. But this also too goes into a play of the idea of dollar cost averaging. And you mentioned too crypto having such a low barrier of entry. So what exactly how do you identify that, right? What does that mean to kind of have a low barrier of entry when it comes to crypto?
I mean, anyone can invest. I mean, if you have a cell phone, if you got a PC, you can get into the game. So my recommendation is, just take some time to figure out which exchange kind of fits you, and what it is that you want to do. If you want to go more towards like a centralized exchange like Coinbase, you really want to use ones if you're going to get into crypto. Like they often say, like, don't keep like your Bitcoin on the exchange. It gets more complex down the line, but for anyone starting, like if you wanted to get into the game, download Coinbase. You could purchase Bitcoin right there as much as you want, whenever you want. You can even set it up to make recurring purchases weekly if you like. You can also even purchase like Bitcoin on Cash App if need be. So it's an extremely low barrier of entry. The market's open 24 hours a day, and you have access to your money whenever you want. So if you want to trade it back into US dollar, you can. If you want to buy more Bitcoin or purchase any other projects that are listed on the platform, you can at any time. There's nothing stopping you. And that's really it. It's not like, the normal stock market where, it's going 9 to 5, 5 days a week. Like you can literally put money in on the weekend, and if you just happen to get lucky over the weekend and get some percent gain, you can pull it out by Monday and have your trade. Of course, you'll probably have to pay taxes on it, but you've made your money back off of your trade or whatever you did.
Yeah, I mean, you got to pay taxes back on everything. And the only reason why I say that is because, as you mentioned, taxes is a big reason why a lot of people may stay away from certain things, right? As well
Mm-hmm.
as not knowing. But you have to pay taxes on the majority of your investments, whether you like it or not. I mean, there's
Right.
certain ways to finesse that I won't say, like legally and stuff, but just like, trust. Taxes are a part of the game. I would say this, don't let paying taxes be the reason why you decide not to make money.
Absolutely not.
If you're profiting more than what you be paying in taxes, then at some point you realize it's just a numbers game. As long as you're,
Yeah.
making money overall, you're straight. But are there any apps that you've used that you kind of really rock with in terms of like, this is either like my go-to, or here's something that not necessarily like recommendation, but something like, all right, this is the one kind of thing. Because
Yeah, I like.
I know Robinhood. Obviously, you brought that example. A lot of people kind of, it was clipped after that. But are there any ones
Yeah.
on the crypto space that you kind of really like?
I like Coinbase. I like OpenSea. That's an NFT platform. I also like Royal. If you're not familiar with Royal, there's a lot of things going on in the NFT space with music. And if you're into music, I think you should really look into Royal.io. I've been looking into Royal a lot because I have a background in music as well. So that's one of the areas that I like. And I know from Royal, you can, if an artist drops an album or a song, you can buy a percent of the royalties for that in the crypto space now. So like that's just a unique opportunity that I don't see. Like you don't see like high end like record companies allowing like normal people in on a business, and this is allowing that. So I would say Webull too. Webull is a good place to invest in the stock market or crypto. But you want to make sure, whatever platform that you are investing on, that you get the keys to your crypto or and by keys I mean there's keys in the background that tell you that you own your crypto, because on platforms like Robinhood, you don't actually own your crypto. Robinhood owns your crypto. You can't take the Bitcoin off of the exchange at all. It's like embedded in their system. So
And there's certain fees that come along with it, right? When you buy
Mhm.
crypto.
Yeah, there's going to be fees for the most part with like a lot of things. It's just really navigating and finding out who has the lowest. I mean, you could really get crypto off of any crypto platform. There's Gemini, there's Gemini, Coinbase, there's a bunch of other ones. I have like a list of them. I can kind of give you those here. One sec. Crypto.com. You can definitely get some crypto using your MetaMask wallet.
I just think, too, even in addition to that, it's important for people like to continue to do their overall research, right?
Absolutely.
And that it is out there. And to your point, all of this is from your phone, right? And like obviously, you can do research from a laptop or whatever, but this idea of like with the way technology is, it's like this stuff is literally at your fingertips, right?
At
Like
your fingertips.
it's available. The same devices that we use to scroll through other pieces of content, right, is the same devices that we can use to learn about things like stock market, real estate, crypto, so on and so forth. So the excuse for the idea of like, well, I don't know where to start, use your phone, right? Like use what you've already been using pretty much your entire life to learn about these things.
And that's what anything I would say. And that's kind of like, I know I've mentioned this before in like conversations with you, like social media in general. I leverage social media a bit differently. I have, like another account that I kind of go on to just focus up. And I use that one to just see everything that I kind of want to see. So if it's something that I need information on, like crypto or just tech in general, or if I'm looking into real estate, or trying to get some knowledge around anything, I'll build like my secondary social media page to just have that information. So I might not be on my personal platform all the time, but I'm definitely on the platforms seeking the information, leveraging my YouTube. YouTube is a powerful tool at the end of the day. You can learn anything on YouTube. You can learn anything by just applying yourself in general. That's all you got to do is just take action. Start, form a couple questions that you need answered right away, and then just get to searching, and you can literally follow your way to the money.
Yeah. YouTube, podcast, and social media. That trio right there can really be a game changer for a lot of people. And the thing is, all three of those things are free, right?
Absolutely.
So we talk about utilizing information. It is in front of us. It's not hidden. Information is not hidden. It is all available for free. But yeah, I think like when we talk about, I guess, being lost or feeling like, okay, where do I start? That's a good point. But something that you mentioned that I want to hit on too is us building wealth from zero, right? Or us building wealth from not necessarily the same starting point as our counterparts. What does that mean?
So what that means is that we just have to, look at it a bit differently. There's a lot more work that needs to be done within our community as a whole, but there's a lot more that needs to be done and brought to our own families that are right here. So it doesn't necessarily, mean that we have to invest a lot differently. I just think that we need to be a lot more strategic and protect what it is that we have. We have to smarten up as a culture. Um, right now, I don't know if like many people know, but the funny thing about history is that you don't understand that you're in history while you're in it. But if you open your eyes up and you kind of keep your ear to, the streets and just the overall world in general, you'll understand that right now we're in a unique time. We're in the Black wealth movement. And I don't know if too many people know that. Now, that really comes to my mind. The question that brings to me is, like what is it that you want to tell your grandchildren about this time? Do you want to tell them that you were on the front lines building wealth for your community and your family, or was it that you were just, too lazy to kind of pick up the phone and go look? When you had it right at your fingertips, and people are becoming millionaires out here. Like, why? It can be you. It really can. It all comes down to searching and taking the time to like look into this research.
And when we start to talk about the Black wealth movement, right? What is that? How do we identify that? Right? What exactly is it? How exactly do we describe what that looks like?
I mean, we're finally in the space right now. I mean, when you look at our generation, racism and things like that, that still exists. The only difference is like we're not battling against Jim Crow laws, really. Like we're still like mass incarceration and everything going on like that. But we don't have the same barriers that, other generations before us kind of had. And we also have technology, which kind of keeps us informed, but also brings us together, right? So now we have platforms like, Earn Your Leisure. We have movements from people like 19 Keys or him 500, I think his name is. Like we have all these people who are coming around to kind of like, educate and pour knowledge into the community. And you've seen a lot of people taking action. I'm sure like the pandemic is really what kind of, got us there and gave us that push because when times get hard, you got to get creative, and that's kind of exactly what everybody's been doing. So as a result of the pandemic, we had a lot more entrepreneurs be produced, a lot more investors be produced, a lot of people who shifted their mindset from just being consumers to now they're producers. So with the education kind of pouring into the Black community and these platforms being provided by other Black individuals, you now see it now that we are in the Black wealth movement. It's a come up being made right now.
Yeah.
And right now we're really building our foundation. And I think a economic presence is what in a way what the Black community kind of needed, because that's the way that you get respect in this capitalistic society. So we finally, taking the time to kind of put those dollars back in our community and back in our own pockets, invested in ourselves. It's wonders that we can work.
Yeah. And how do you feel, right, how strong the culture that we carry as Black people affects the overall financial landscape of our country? Like in terms of like we the wealth gap may not be where we want it to be, but I don't think there will ever be a doubt who right controls the overall culture, if that makes sense, right? Like who it is that like really runs it. So how do you think those two kind of play hand in hand?
I mean, it's gonna play into our favor in the long run. The more and more of us that kind of wake up and kind of understand that we don't necessarily have to, take every dollar that we have and throw it back out there as into like consumer items. Once we kind of like are put in a position where we can save a little bit, we prioritize education to kind of, bring our intelligence level up a bit. That'll bring us in a space to where, we're a bit more educated, and we can understand how money actually works and how we can, create budgets to kind of save. That'll put us in the spaces where we have a little bit more left over to where we can start to invest. Now, the unique thing about us as a community is that we spend more money than everyone else in the country. We technically keep the economy afloat. Now, the black consumers we spend more than anyone else. Now, the minute that we take all those dollars that we're spending, when we leverage those dollars to, invest for ourselves and use that money to, build our communities and things like that, we'll get a lot more out of our community. We'll have a lot more, resources available to other individuals who may need that help, but also we'll have, the resources available for those that want to thrive in these environments. So that's really what it all comes down to is just a mindset shift for us, because I mean the information was kind of held from us for a long time. We didn't really know how to operate in this like capitalistic environment. So now that we're kind of being brought up to speed on how things work, you can see the change and the shift like starting to occur. You can see that there's a lot more wealthy people. And even when you look at like overall cities, like you could look at the city of Atlanta, for example, there's a lot of Black people thriving over there. So you got to kind of just like shift your mindset a bit, because that's history being made down there right now.
Yeah. And I say too, like these next 5 years will be the most important years in African-American history when it comes to finances. Like when you think about the opportunity that we have to possibly make money, and on top of that, no one can really stop us from doing so. I think there's power in knowing what we're really capable of. And I think that might be one of society's biggest fears, is us collectively not just doing it, but like realizing what can happen, when that gets done. But do you think there's a lot of competition within us as Black people? And the only reason why I ask is because sometimes where there's comparison, there's obviously competition as well. So do you think there's a dynamic where we feel like we have to be number one or the alpha, as opposed to leveling up together?
I think there is competition, but I think that was like a mentality that was kind of bred into us from, the past history of like slavery and things of that nature. I think in general, us as a people, we're a culture of love. We were always taught that way. We come from families who embrace us, and lots of us have large families. So I think when we kind of like take the competition factor out of it and start to realize that there's enough money for all of us to kind of get wealthy, then we start to partner together, share education, share resources. People come together, and that's where you see a lot more money being made. If you, in comparison, when you look at our community and compare it to others, we're just one of the communities that don't really try to work together, and that's kind of what's hindered us a lot of times. There are communities within Black culture that that are thriving and have used teamwork and community to build together, and you can see them thriving. So it's just a shift from unlearning the things that we learned from the past, this kind of crab in a barrel mentality that we were kind of like taught, and it kind of like influenced us to kind of be like, we don't have to have that anymore. We got to shift from being in like survival mode to thriving. And I mean, that's not the case for everyone. Others, are less fortunate and they are surviving, but it's our responsibility to educate them, and bring them up to where we are, because they're our family as well when we look at it from a race standpoint.
Yeah. And do you feel like there is a responsibility to kind of help the next man, if you will?
There is a responsibility, because how can you be an alpha if you're not willing to help your next man come up? That's what being an alpha is all about. It is, it is about, being a man's man and, things of that nature. But if you can't be on the front lines, supporting your community in the ways that best, because you do have other individuals who, tackle our community in different lights. We're really just approaching it from a financial standpoint. We see our strengths and finances. We understand what could come from like economic empowerment. So if you can bring people up in this realm, then we can change many things going forward. It's just the economics and the finances are it's number two. Technically, number one really is education, because once you have education and then that can never be stripped from you. So you'll always figure out a way to, make the money. And then once you have the money, you can figure out ways to improve your community. You'll also have, better family life in general. The money is like the last thing you really want to worry about in this life. There's so many more things more important. So once you kind of like check that box off, you could really start, you can embrace love, embrace culture, embrace the arts, kind of embrace everything else around you.
Which one do you think is more challenging? Making money or doing smart things with the money?
I would say making money isn't hard, because there's many of ways that you can make it. I think it really comes down to managing it. Because if you don't keep a close eye on it, it'll get away from you. If you don't know what to do with it, you'll blow it. And if you're used to, if you come up in a household where, where you're living paycheck to paycheck, you'll kind of reiterate the things that you were taught. You'll see a balance and you won't think to, yeah, hey, like maybe I should save some, or you're kind of just like, without that education or the foundations of knowing what to do with it, it'll always go away. And I mean, the most important thing you can do, even if you don't know what to do with it, is at least put 10% away, minimum, at least 10%. But if you really want to kick it into high gear and you can afford to do it, save a larger majority. Save a larger majority. And then as you learn, you have the pot there to invest or to do something with it. It's not a race. Wealth is a journey, So that's what you kind of have to think about. It's not really a race. And you always want to think about it over the long term. You can get it fast, but as fast as it comes is as fast as it can go. So you want to protect everything that you make. And I mean, really understand the amount of time and how much effort you put into working, and think about all the things that you consume over time, whether it be food, sneakers, clothing, like all the miscellaneous things that we buy that we really don't need. And just ask yourself truthfully, how much does that actually cost you as far as time and what you're working for? And when you really, really start to think about it, you'll really, really start to save more of your money, because if you save your money, it'll save you. That's number one. Number two, if you don't know where you want to go, it's okay to have that background, have that in the background to save you too. And then once you finally figure out what you want to do with it, you have the resources available. Resources stop the biggest ideas in the world. If you don't have the funding, you can't make it come to life. Now, that's not a problem if you have it. So focus on getting it, keeping it, and then educate yourself on how to make it work for you. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah, and the key word that I took out of that too was the word your, right? It's like it's your lane, it's your race, it's your journey, it's your marathon. You can't compare yourself to anyone, right? They always say comparison is the thief of joy. But when you tend to look to your left, when you tend to look to your right, you try to compare yourself to everyone, you are literally robbing yourself of being happy. Because the unfortunate fact, right, is that there's always going to be someone out there that's making more money than you. Whether you want to admit it or not, someone out there is more wealthy than you from a financial perspective. But at the same time, there's someone out there who's in a less fortunate situation than you, right? There's someone out there who wishes they had your type of paycheck or type of money. So you have to, in my opinion, remain mellow and humble enough to know that all of this really is a marathon. But also too, right, a key word that I took away from what you said is education, right? So where does the root, in your opinion, really stem from when we talk about educating our people?
The root, I would just say, like, it really comes down to conversations. I mean, when you talk about building wealth in general, like, I know in our community, we don't really talk about money at all. Like, we shy away from that topic. We'll let money, dissolve our relationships or friendships with people, but we won't ever try to have, like, think about it, really, like, people will stop being friends with someone for $50. It's $50, bro. When you really think about it, it's a lifelong friendship, and you will avoid a person. You will stop talking to them. You will do whatever for $50, $50. Like, and that is a small amount of money. Like, to someone that needs it today, it's a lot. Yes. But like, when you really think about how many times $50 have flowed in and out of your hands, it is really small. So that's where I say, like, education really comes down to it, because relationships are really what's more important. and like I said, like just, having people who can advocate, and, people like you, who provide platforms for, people to tell their story and educate others about, their journey, give people the opportunity to speak on what it is like they've done, and their strategies toward building wealth. That's important. We need people like that in the community, and that's how we change, that dynamic. And that's why, I felt like it was kind of important for me to come up here and kind of speak a bit too, because I like to play the shadow a bit, and I like to do my own thing. But I feel like, people need to hear from other people who are, also on this marathon, doing it in a bunch of different ways. They need to hear other people who are, starting from zero, or, starting from wherever you are at. You might not have the best job today, but understand you can still save, and you can still use that money to invest in yourself. You can still use it to build out whatever dream or whatever business idea that you have, but you have to have the resources. And not saying that you have to bootstrap everything. There's other resources. There's plenty of people who know how to, get SBA loans. There's plenty of people who know how to help individuals come up with budgets so that they are able to save. There's people who know how to, help people fix and repair their credit, who know strategies out there to get you to secure, funding, leveraging your credit. There's people who know tons of bunch of things, but it's really, your willingness to go out there and seek the information. That's one. You have to be willing to go to lead yourself to that lake. Your people can lead you to the lake, but unless you're ready to drink, you're not going to get anything from it. And just start. That's really it. Just start, whether it be saving $10 here, $20 here, whatever it is, whatever you can save, as long as you can do that, you're started. Now, once you started in that realm, start in another area. Okay. You know your credit might not be the best. So figure out how you might be able to, get some, delinquencies off your credit. Figure out how you might be able to boost your credit score. There's a bunch of different things that you can do. It's not one particular thing you have to do right away. Just start somewhere. Start the journey somewhere.
Why should someone start small though? And I mean, like, I know the answer to that question, but I ask you because naturally, if you tell someone like, all right, start investing with $20, start investing with $30, some people have the mindset that's like, all right, I want to wait till I get at least 5 figures in the bank, or I want to wait till I get whatever, your number is. But I think that tends to happen sometimes because, you're delaying the inevitable, right? You like that number sometimes is just a myth in your head. If you're a person that says, all right, I want to wait till I get 5 figures in the bank, and then I'm invest. And then you get 5 figures and you still don't want to invest. Now it's a mental thing. Now it don't got anything to do with, what I'm saying? You were just waiting for a number. So why is it that you feel it's important to start somewhere as opposed to just delaying the process?
I mean, it really comes down to the thinker and the doer. The thinker will sit there and think the whole time and never take any action. So they'll never make any progress. The doer, he might not take as long to think, but he's going to make some progress. Now, the other thing about it is, it really comes down to psychology too, because if you're not okay with $50, what makes you think you're going to be okay with 5,000, 50,000? You wasn't okay with 50. So what makes you think you're going to believe and trust that process? You have to kind of, it's like anything, like you build routine, you build a practice of doing something. And over time, you feel a lot more comfortable investing larger amounts of money. So that's
Yeah.
a simple enough answer for that.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely, agree with that, right? Especially too when we talk about longevity, right? Like, and this is with anything really, right? Stock market, crypto, real estate, the idea of starting somewhere and time being on your side. And that was, you brought up something that I want to touch on too, right? It's just the idea of, you may be a person that is quote unquote in the shadows and like handling your business on the side, or not as being as, out there as most people or social media influencers. But I want to tell everyone out there, like, you're not alone, not you specifically, but just the idea of like, there's other investors, there's other young Black investors out there. And I think, not to brag or whatever, but it shows like this that's really important so that we continue to highlight these stories and make sure people understand, like, yo, you don't have to look a certain way to
At
invest in
all.
crypto, right? Like,
No.
like, you don't have to look a certain way to invest in the stock market. You don't have to look a certain way to invest in crypto. You don't have to look a certain way to invest in real estate. Like, the idea of being a Black investor can still mean like you being who you are, staying true to the person that you are. That's the beauty of investing in 2022. Like we don't have to conform. Like, all right, I'm investing in this, so that means I got to talk a certain way. No, like, you feel me? But
Yeah,
just
no,
making
not at
sure,
all.
who you are.
Yeah, and I think that's another important point in general. I think that people kind of just need to think about is, like there's no face of what wealth looks like. There's no face of what like a businessman or entrepreneur really looks like. I mean, there's standards, but the standards that other people have created out of their culture. So let them do that. You get what I'm saying? Let them do that. We define our own culture. If you're a Black owned business owner and you have a successful business, you can be tatted from wrist to face if you wanted to. It doesn't stop your success. If you have a popular product that sells, it sells.
Yeah.
I mean, you see it every single day. There's nothing stopping you on your journey. There's not a particular look. There isn't a particular level of education required for you to start there, but you want to. The only reason I preach education is because you want to know so that you could be more efficient at what it is that you do. That's all it is. You want to be better at what it is that you do. So you have to know. Knowing is the key. That's it. There's nothing more to it. But if you know, also make it a practice to do. Don't just know and sit there, because knowledge with no action is just pieces of paper. It's books. People have a bunch of libraries filled with books that they won't read or they won't use. It's tons of knowledge in there. And the key is too is one of the key is you want to spend a lot of time. You want to spend a lot of time reading and researching the things that it is that you're interested in, because it's going to help you. It's going to help you along your journey. Because the more you know, the better you can implement things around what it is that you're trying to do. And it doesn't have to be one particular cookie cutter thing. And this is just my own insight, just from like working in business, having businesses on my own, being an entrepreneur. You can have one idea and you can build 7 streams of income from one idea. That's 7 streams of income. You should be focused on building multiple streams of income. But if you have one idea, you can start with one idea. And it's as simple as it just being small, and it's something that you do. It could be, you could be a young lady braiding hair, and you could braid hair on the weekend, and you could have one client. I know the prices are crazy right now with the hairdressers and all. I hear about it all the time. But but truthfully, like you start doing that, right? And you start braiding hair, you make some money doing that. Now you have, you have a little pot to work with. Now you go find you some, like a suite or something like that, where you can have like an actual studio and you're still braiding hair, right? But now you have an extra chair. Now you can go find someone else, and they might not even necessarily know how to braid. It might be a friend of yours. You might spend some time teaching them how to braid. You understand what I'm saying? You might teach them how to braid. You say, look, I'm gonna allow you the opportunity to make some money in my shop. Just kick me X%, or this rent for this chair. And now you got you a second stream of income. And now you hired a friend and also taught them something that they can do to make money for themselves, to give themselves another stream of income. So that's how you really collectively build. It all starts with one thing. And from that one idea, look, I'm gonna give it to you loud. Look, from that one idea, if you got a hair salon, look, you can start dabbling into products that you can create, right? You can sell other people's products in your shop, or you can come up with your own shampoo or conditioner that you use within your shop. And who knows, maybe the customers that you do their hair, maybe they like your products, right? Now, maybe they want the same experience and they want to have those products. They really like how it goes through their hair. Maybe they want to buy those products off of you. Now you got 3 streams of income. Now you selling shampoos, you're doing braids, and you got rent inside your shop. So like it all starts with one idea. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter how big it is, how small it is. You can do anything. You can really do anything.
Yeah. And people say, like, to have multiple streams of income. And to your point, you can be great at one thing, but have multiple income streams stem off that, right? So if you're, let's say, a graphic designer, right? Obviously the main one is, okay, you sell, the designs that you make, but now another one could be you developing a course, you sell that. Another one could be you having consultation calls on, that's another, stream for you. Another one could be you, posting all your stuff on Instagram and then doing affiliate marketing, getting brand deals through that. And there's so many, starting a YouTube channel, same thing. Like, and so I think when we talk about the idea of having so many different streams, I think people sometimes get confused. Like, all right, that means you need to tap into different industries. What is it that you're good at? Start there, right? Like you don't have to be like everyone else. Like whatever it is that you're good at can really lead you to make some serious money if you stick to it. Don't try and compare yourself to anyone. But another statement that I personally don't like, like you ever hear people say things like knowledge is power? Like that kind of bothers me low key, because it doesn't matter how smart you are, right? It doesn't matter how many books you've read. It doesn't matter how many YouTube videos you've read. If you don't apply it, then all that is clipped. So it's more of like applied knowledge is power, because all that information you have in your brain is pointless if you are just not using it, right? You can watch 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 YouTube videos if you want, but if you're just saying, oh, wow, that's cool, and you're not following up with no action, then you actually work backwards because you didn't put no real effort in. But do you think, like, play this, do you think anyone can rescue themselves, right? Do you think that anyone can save themselves from their current financial situation?
Absolutely. I mean, it really comes down to what are you willing to sacrifice? Like, are you willing to, miss some of the fun events to get yourself back on track financially? Are you willing to, not go on vacation? Are you willing to just, hang out in the house? And, you don't have to be miserable. It really just comes down to taking, ownership of, what it is that you're trying to do and what you want to accomplish. Like at the end of the day, how I tell people is like, no one's going to do it for you. You're not. You're an adult. Um, even if you're a kid, your parents can only help you as far as much they know. So at the end of the day, it really comes down to you putting it in your own hands. The resources are there available. And there are people willing to help you too, if it is truthfully what it is. If you truthfully want to correct your financial situation, there's resources. Theus has tons of videos out there to get you on track. Through him, even if you reached out to him particularly, I'm sure he might know individuals. If you wanted to reach out to me in particular, I'm willing to help you. If there's, there's tons of people around that are willing to help you, and not everyone will charge you to get that help. It doesn't hurt me to give you the same that I have to help you start your journey.
Yeah. And I think it's important too for people to just simply show up, right? And just make the effort. Like if you want something, cool, right? It's good to have desires, but the next step is following that up with action. Don't just wish all day. Don't just manifest all day. Take action, because to your point, the only person that's going to save you from your situation is you, right? It's not going to be anybody else, especially when you're an adult, right? When you're a kid and stuff, and you do certain things, all right, cool. Maybe, people want to help you out and stuff like that. But like assistance will always be there and available, but it has to be you that really gets yourself out of a situation. But so I got to ask too, even to jump around a little bit, to someone, right, who went to an HBCU like you did, right, and being from Windsor and in the Hartford area, and to now being a Black man that has moved and lived to Idaho. Talk to me a little bit about that overall adjustment, because I'm
And it's
sure
culture shock here.
if I had to guess, it's not the same.
It's definitely not the same. There's no place like home. No place like CT. Let's start there. We have the best pizza by far. I've had pizza in multiple places and it's terrible. But all right, let's talk about. So like I went to school in Delaware. I went to Delaware State. So I mean that's different. But the reason I wanted to go there was because I saw Delaware as like a melting pot of culture. You have a lot of people from New York, Washington, D.C., Virginia, Maryland, New Jersey, like all of those areas contemplated in one place in a melting pot. So I got to experience a lot of different cultures and meet a lot of new people from a bunch of different places. So that kind of like helped me, build my foundation and getting out of my comfort zone, because I understood, how to, go out and build relationships outside of like my the circles that I was normally affiliated with. And I think that, there's an advantage in that as well, and moving around a bit too, because I moved around even when I was in Connecticut, and just getting to know and meet different people and understanding how to build relationships will take you very far in life. You're going to meet people along your journey who may not, be or look just like you, but they might share similar interests as you, and that can be like the point of what the foundation of y'all relationship will be built off of. So I would say, like, just my overall journey, to kind of tell you a bit about like my background. I When I was in college, I kind of, I competed. I had this opportunity to compete in like a business competition, and when I competed in this business competition, we ended up winning a grand prize. So that got me the opportunity to kind of get like a real high level like internship with a tech company. So that kind of like, that experience in its own was outside of the box of what I was used to. That got me the opportunity to, move to Idaho, which I was put in like complete isolation. There's no Black culture really out here. We're trying to really create it. There are people who were here before us, but not too many young people, and it's starting to change a bit now. Now that it seems like more of us are starting to come, but for a while it wasn't really, too many of us. But I don't approach things by looking at like the glass half empty. I look at it half full. With it being, like not a tremendous amount of culture here. Some of the people in my circle that I run with out here, we felt as though, we could bring culture to this place. So we started to venture and kind of start a couple different things out here. For us, like we have a sneaker collective that we kind of have, like a sneaker business that we run out here. So that was like one way that we kind of brought like culture to this place. We also have like a few barbershops that we, that are affiliated with us. We also have, like getting artists to come out and kind of perform, or having like different venues that we can kind of have that have, things that resonate with us is also available. But then the thing you kind of got to realize too, when you're in a place that doesn't have, too many of you, um, you're a lot more open to and more welcoming of individuals who are like you or who aren't. So I think that's one thing that kind of hinders people and hinders their progress along their own journeys, is that, we're kind of standoffish in a way. Or let's say, I'll just call people scared. People are scared to meet people who are going to hold them accountable to chase their dreams. People are scared to, meet people who are, who are going to push them, or who are going to know the things that they're interested in, and will continuously remind them like, hey, like you told me that you were going to start this. So what's going on with this? Like, people are genuinely scared to do things in this world. And that's not an issue. The issue arises is when you allow being scared to stop you from doing anything. So to remain in the place that in which you are, whether it be the neighborhood you're from, the state you're from, don't allow fear to, stop you or take away any of your opportunities. You should embrace fear, jump into it, you'll survive. I'm sure people, experience a lot more things that are, that could be worse than moving somewhere new, or being by yourself, or being the only one like you in a specific space. I mean, I kind of just, I toss my hands up sometimes, and I just say, like, when if you don't have your people right around you, go find your people. Go find your people, go build your circle, get active, because people are doing this. And I would say, embrace change, because change is going to bring the most value to you. Yeah, it's life is about experience.
But how do you do that though? How do you go and find your people? Because when I think of like as an individual, if you have either a hustle spirit, or like you're trying to change your situation, some of that may be just on you, right? Like you're just going to do or move in a certain way, but it can be challenging, right, for people to, I guess, start or initiate a group. So how do you do that? How do you go and find people that may think like you or have a similar mentality, especially too for someone who moved, across the country the way you did?
I would say you just gotta, you gotta get comfortable one standing on your own. So being your own man, that's being your own man or woman, that's really important. Understand the things that you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with, and set those boundaries. Have like a actual plan and what you're trying to do. And then go out and kind of enjoy or do the things that it is that you kind of came to do. And as you're in these environments, whether it be like, I'll just use an example for like me, like I like sneakers, and I like, the resale culture. So for me, like that was really easy for me to kind of find, my unit, because I met other individuals who were within my network, who I also had other interests in. So like that's one thing that I kind of leverage, is like leveraging my own interests. Because I mean, you could take it to as simple as like a spot that you go to on a regular basis. If you're a regular at this gym, I mean, there's one thing you already have in common with this other individual that may be across the gym from you. You can go over there, introduce yourself, have a quick conversation, fill out who they are. But the one thing that y'all do have in common is that you always work out at this gym. So why not just try to work out? Like try to work out or introduce yourself. The conversation to kind of grow from there. It's all about, like, I would say, like, I'll leverage my network, really. And I might meet other individuals from individuals within my circle and just expand that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, your network, I mean, we hear it so often, right? Your network is your net worth. But, that really is true. I think, who you talk to on an everyday basis kind of speaks volumes on what it is that you yourself are really trying to accomplish. But talking to a little bit about the sneaker business.
So yeah, a buddy of mine runs a sneaker business called Indies Kicks. And I'm kind of just, like a partner within it. It's a sneaker resale business. So buy, sell, trade. We do a lot of pop-up shop like kind of events. We were also affiliated with SneakerCon, so we did like kind of do some vending at SneakerCon. But right now we're primarily online on Instagram. And you could follow us if you kind of need some insight on sneakers. And like I said, we're big on multiple streams of income. So not only do we, buy, sell, and trade, we can source sneakers for you. We can, restore sneakers for you. And yeah, we also, like I said before, we host events. So we host events locally out here in Idaho. We have, I can't say it now, but we have, some events coming up in the future where other people will have like the opportunity to vend, but also, if you want to shop online with us via Instagram, you can do that as well.
Yeah. Are you scared to have one income? Just one? You
No,
nervous with something that
I'm
just
just a hustler. I'm just a hustler at the end of the day. So like I don't think, and I'm a hard worker. So oftentimes I just try to find things of interest, and then if I can, make money off of it, I'll probably jump in the lane of doing it. But it isn't really all about that for me. It's really about, finding something and finding a way to create some change, or to shake things up, or to bring things that aren't already available where you are. So never afraid to have one stream of income, because I feel like a lot of people do have one. So don't be afraid to just have one, but also figure out ways that you can have like some side hustles, because if that goes away, you don't want to just be stuck. We've seen how the pandemic had everyone, and you not being able to work, how it affected people. So you just want to have some more security for yourself.
yeah.
I would
What
say.
drives you to be a hustler?
Um, I would say just watching my mom. She a hustler, man. Wake up at 4:30 every morning. She's single mom, put me and my brother through school. Not only put me and my brother through school, but put herself through college, and she's in college now. So just seeing that type of drive, and to be in the gym and like have like a healthy lifestyle, to cook every single day for us, like growing up. Like that's a lot of hard work. And when you really sit back and acknowledge like the work that someone did just to get you to where you are, why would you let them down? So that's one thing, you know, my mother and my family is one big thing, but also my legacy. I take a lot of time to think about on a daily, like what it is that I want my legacy to be at the end of the day. How do I want people to you know remember me when it's my time to, you know, go and transition into my next phase. So I try to ask myself these questions like, what do I value? Is it, I don't even really truly value the money, man. I value the impact in my outreach and how I can help you know, touch people. And if I can help people, I look to encourage people, you know, and I try to lead by example. So that's really like my motivation.
Okay. And I mean, if I had to guess, I can kind of tell that either you may have watched at least one other episode of Defiant Legacy before in terms of what you just said, only because what you just said kind of leads me into my final question, right? We got to talk about a lot of different things, right? Talk about cryptocurrency, just the idea of, you know, a meme coin versus something that has actual value. You growing up in Connecticut and then moving out, to Idaho and attending an HBCU in Delaware State. Just the idea of being an overall hustler, identifying ways that we can improve within the Black community from a financial literacy perspective, attacking education and really understanding the overall importance and power of it. Not being afraid of certain things. The world that we're living in now, these next 5 years, being able to learn certain things from our phone, so on and so forth. Right? And even ending off and capping off with the sneaker business. So many things that we just went over. But the one of the final things that you mentioned was the idea of legacy. And so I say all of that, right, to wrap it up in the form of a question. And that question is the final question I ask everyone that's been on Defining Legacy. How do you want to be remembered?
Man, I want to be, you know, I just want to be remembered as, you know, a great businessman, a philanthropist, someone that impacted my culture. I want to be remembered as, you know, a thought inspirer, someone that, you know, changes minds, that, you know, that could build young men and young women and make them, you know, strong and not feel as though they have to, you know, really taint their voice or be quiet about the things that are kind of going on, whether it be politics, economics, war, things going on right in your neighborhood. Once you have like that financial stability and you have that financial base for yourself, is where you can really have freedom with out of your own life. So it's kind of like the journey that I'm on right now and how I'm starting, but surely not how I'm finishing. I have a large voice for me, myself, for my family and for my people. And I feel as though like at the end of the day, I'll probably touch a lot of hearts, change a lot of minds, make a lot of millionaires. And from there, you know, we'll see how people will remember me. But I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself to kind of do everything all in one day. Like we said before, it's a marathon. So, you know, I'm going to take it a day at a time, put one foot in front of the horse, one foot in front of the other, never putting the cart before the horse you know, taking it day by day. So, but people will definitely remember me for the amount of people whose lives I'll change, and definitely the impact and the knowledge that I'll pour into them throughout my time here. So
Facts. And I think that's the beauty of being young to Black and educated. It's like you realize that it really, really is a marathon. It's like the information and the knowledge that you might have now, right? You use that over the course of your life and continue to improve not just your life, but your family and the people around you. And I think that's, very, very important. But if you could, man, drop your social media, where people can find you. I know you mentioned another Instagram page that as well. So if you want, man, just either leave your Twitter or Instagram, all of the above. Where can your email, if you want, where can people find you?
cool. So yeah, so you can follow me on my Instagram. My Instagram name is, I don't really use it that often, but if you ever need
not
like
the
some
burner account, not the burner account.
if you need some help, if you feel free, like, you know, to DM me. I love to chat with you guys. You know, my Instagram name is Kyron underscore Kai underscore, so KYRON underscore KY underscore. And then the business page for the sneaker business is Indies Kicks. So NDSXKICKS. You'll see it on Instagram as well. And I mean, feel free. You can email me. My email is bonnerkyron@gmail.com. Feel free to email me. If I mean, even if they have to go through you to get my information, I'm comfortable with that. I'm here to help.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like I said, it doesn't hurt me. It doesn't take money out of my pocket to pour into you guys, to help you get started on your financial journey and to really, define your own legacy.
Facts. And I appreciate that too. And one thing too, I want to leave everyone with another hack that you gave me. You talked about it a little bit on your end, but just the idea of creating a separate Instagram account, right? Where you follow a bunch of people that talk about stocks and real estate and all these different things. And your timeline is literally just that, right? So nothing else but financial literacy stuff. And that hack, I don't know why I didn't think about that beforehand, but just that hack, this idea of having a completely separate page where it's like, yo, every single post I see is a gem, right? Like, Instagram is sometimes, or Twitter, whatever. It's like 1 minute you can see a tweet talking about some wild off the wall shit. Next minute you can see something that benefits you. The next, you can see something going on with the news. Like, but if you have one page that's just designed for everything that I want from a beneficial perspective, it all works out in the end. And so, are there any final words that you want to leave our lovely Defining Legacy audience with?
Yeah, I just want to, first thank you for giving me the opportunity, come up on your platform, share my story, share a bit of the knowledge that I have. So thank you to you for having me here. For you guys out there, continue to support Theus. He has a lot of great things out here that he's doing. So if you can, like like the podcast episode, like the other episodes, tune in into all the other episodes that he might have out there too, and revisit those too. Don't just watch it one time and think you might have all the gems. You can revisit these to get more gems out of them, I would say. And then the other thing is, don't be afraid. I mean, the world in general, like a lot of people tend, to say like the world isn't scary, or they, things like that. But let's be honest, man, like to go out and really, do the things that it is to do the things that you say you're gonna do, that you set out for yourself, take some type of courage to do. So have faith in yourself. Go for it. Go for the things that you want to do in this life. I mean, nothing can't be accomplished out here. There's always a way. If there are pitfalls or barriers that kind of arise, figure out ways around them, because there's not always peaches and cream on one side. I had to go around a few different places, or I had to try different methods to kind of get to where I'm at today. So it's not one way to make things happen. The last thing I'll kind of leave you with is like I said, educate yourself, because I feel like that's one of the key things that's kind of missing right now. It's going to help you build your confidence. It'll help you build just your overall respect for the craft of knowledge in general. It'll build your confidence. Have respect for the craft in general. It'll take you some time to like kind of get into it, but just get into it, man. Jump into it. Start today. Don't keep waiting and pushing it off, because before you know it, you'll be 45 and you don't want to be 45 and still waiting. So if you can start.
Yeah. And I try to remind, I try my best to remind young people, like, you have the one thing in life that everyone wishes they had, and that is time, right? So regardless of how much you know or don't know, you know for a fact that you have time. So take advantage of that, right? You're only going to be in your 20s once, right? Don't let these moments go by with you just existing, right? Like, start living your life and start making decisions and choices that will positively impact you moving forward. And I know as young people, we may not like to think about decades, right? Like when we're, 45, 50, 60 years old, but the decisions really, man, that you make today are going to impact you, right? And that's from so many different levels, right? Financially, what you eat, your mental health, all that. So it's important to really, again, to your point, again, remember that all this really is a marathon. But I appreciate it, man. And just some housekeeping items on the Define Your Legacy front. Make sure you give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. Subscribe to Theus Elijah on YouTube. All right, we much appreciate it. As well as follow Define Your Legacy on Instagram. All right, Define Your Legacy with an underscore at the end, as well as Define Your Legacy on Facebook, DYL Podcast on Twitter, and last but not least, in addition to TikTok, Theus Elijah on TikTok. But last but not least, make sure that, as you mentioned, man, tap into multiple episodes as well. All episodes drop Thursday at 8:24 a.m. Eastern. All right, all episodes of Define Legacy drop Thursday at 8:24 a.m. Eastern. All right, and just like that, y'all, as always, appreciate y'all for tuning in. Stay blessed. Peace.